A comeback victory leads to a series victory. Let's dive into it in this edition of Locked On Royals.
You are Locked On Royals, your daily Kansas City Royals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are tuned into another edition of Locked On Royals on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can catch me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at JohnnyJ_15. That's at JOHNYJ_15. Or you can find us on wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Odyssey, and YouTube. Just be sure to hit that red button, the subscribe button, to give us a follow and never miss an episode of Locked On Royals. For the first-time listeners out there, here's how our format works. We bring you episodes Monday through Friday, usually right after the game. I took a poll earlier this week about what the listeners would prefer, doing episodes during the day before the game or a post-game reaction afterwards, and it was a resounding answer for the post-game reaction, which worked out well for us today, especially with my schedule here, where it was an afternoon game. I'm able to give you a recap and not have to wait till 11:30 or midnight to get these episodes out. But it never really hurts my schedule late in the evening either. I just want to make sure that we hit the wheelhouse for getting the most number of views on each of these episodes here. So that's how it's going to be. Post-game reactions every single day, except for the weekends. We're off on the weekends. We will be giving those little 60-second post-game reactions that we've been doing throughout this week. You can expect those whether we have an episode that day or not. So this coming Saturday and Sunday, when the Royals are in Cleveland, we'll get that 60-second clip, just won't have the full episode. So that's how you can listen to us. That's how you can follow me. Any questions you may have, either send them to my Twitter handle or you can leave them on the YouTube video below. With a Mailbag Friday coming up tomorrow, you can just leave your question in response to this video, or you can reach out to me directly on Twitter. The Royals found a way to get it done today, and that's really been the theme while this offense has been sputtering. We spent time discussing this offense in last night's episode after Joe Ryan had shut out Kansas City. And going into today, how could you not feel good about the matchup that was at hand? You had Michael Wacha going up against Bailey Ober, and Bailey Ober's ERA was north of 6 in his 8 to 10 career starts against the Royals. I mean, they just bashed him last year, with the exception of one outing in September where he threw 7 shutout innings and only allowed 1 hit. But the Royals went on to win that game. If you can recall, it was that nationally televised game on Fox. It was a Saturday night, big deal, and the Royals rallied in the 8th inning off the Twins bullpen to find a way to get it done. As for today, I wasn't overly impressed with Bailey Ober. I mean, 4 batters into the game, the Royals got 1 run on the board. I mean, Jonathan India, he flies out to left, and then Bobby Witt Jr. smokes a single to left. Vinny has a single to left center, and Salvador Perez rips a single to left, and it's 1-0. And everything about that moment would have told you, well, here we go again. The Royals are going to get their offense going. They're going to easily have this series win. Michael Wacha can do enough, and you're not going to have to sweat it out. Then Bailey Ober goes on to work 6 complete innings. He gets a quality start and gives up 2 hits from that 3-hit first inning. Only 2 more hits the Royals had. I will say, whether it matters to you or not, the Royals were scalding the ball, and there was that weird wind out at Kauffman Stadium that was knocking down a lot. But it was not like last night. It wasn't even close to last night where the Royals were barely doing anything. They were popping up. They were hitting soft ground balls. They were striking out. Nothing about the Royals' performance last night screamed unlucky. Today, there was a bit of unluckiness to it, and I am one of those baseball fans, and I would imagine most people feel this way. If you hit the ball hard, what are you going to do about it? I understand this is a business about results, but if you are constantly hitting the ball hard, there's nothing you can do about it. You're not going to say, well, in this at-bat, I'm going to hit the ball hard, but I'm going to make sure it doesn't find anybody. No, you're just trying to put a really good swing on the ball and hit it hard, and you hope for the best results. And today for the Royals, there were a lot of balls that were hit hard or they died on the warning track, and Bailey Ober was very fortunate, in my opinion, to get out of it with 6 innings and only 1 run to his name. Now, on the pitching side of things for Kansas City, Michael Wacha was fine. And It should be noted that last year, Michael Wacha, in the same way he did in 2023, got off to a slow start. I mean, it was very clear that Michael Wacha was the weak link of that rotation up until about early June. I mean, his ERA was north of 5. There weren't many guys in the rotation that were putting up numbers like that. So you can expect maybe a slower start for Michael Wacha. But honestly, in his 3 outings this year, I haven't been disappointed at all. He only worked 4 innings in his first outing. Then he only gets through 5 in his second outing. And today he gets 5 1/3. And he only gave up 1 run. John Schreiber comes in. He didn't do that well. He walks a hitter, then he gives up a single, so the inherited runner scores. So 2 runs total up to Michael Wacha's name. But still, it was a big moment in the game, and John Schreiber worked his way out of it. He gets the strikeout, and then he gets the ground ball to first base, keeping the Royals only down by 1. And then it brings us to such a critical spot on this homestand. And the reason I say a critical spot is the Royals had taken the series from Baltimore. You feel fine anytime you take a series. The Minnesota series was different because you took the first 2 games, and in a 4-game series, if you take the first 2, you got to split the final 1 of those 2. I mean, you can't win the first 2 and then lose the final 2 and then limp into a 10-game road trip. And it was looking that way for a little bit in this critical spot. Fans are getting restless about the offense. Guys are scuffling at the plate. And then it was just a miss by Cole Sands, who had been really good on the season for Minnesota. He hits Freddie Fermin up and in. It was first pitch, clearly just lost control of it. And then here comes Drew Waters making his season debut. He had struck out in his first 2 at-bats. His second at-bat was an eyesore, if you will. I mean, they had a runner at first, and he goes down on 3 pitches and didn't get a good swing on anything. But he comes up in this spot. You know the pressure's there. He's trying to impress, and he just rolls a single up the middle. And now you got first and third, and you flip the lineup over. That can't be lost in this recap. To be able to flip the lineup over and have first and third with India and Bobby Witt Jr. coming up, it's what won them the game. And Jonathan India putting together a very Jonathan India at-bat. He takes some really close pitches. He fouls off a lot of close 2-strike pitches. And then he just guides one into left to tie the game. That was by far his most impressive at-bat as a member of the Royals. And as you've been hoping for in these first 13 games or so, you want that lineup to move like that, where the bottom of the order flips it over. Jonathan India does his job, and now you've got another great RBI chance for your best player. And Bobby Witt Jr. comes up. He falls behind quickly, 0-2 on the first 2 pitches. And then he takes a few sliders down in the way, fouls it off, and then just drills one to dead center field. The wind knocked it down a little bit. Still, it was enough to do the job. And in a series where the Royals were so poor when it came to situational hitting, those 2 at-bats were very refreshing to see. Now, going back to opening day as well, where the Royals had Jonathan India in a spot where it was first and third and nobody out, and he's fouling off pitches, and then he rolls one over to third. The contact play was on. He didn't come through. This felt like another chance to redeem himself with that, and that he did. Bobby Witt Jr. had come up in some spots where he didn't come through, and he had a good performance today. He goes 2 for 3, has the sac fly to put the Royals ahead, but he had scalded his first 2 hits and then got fortunate in his third at-bat where it was an error over at third base by Jose Miranda. But those 2 at-bats, they flipped the game completely, not just because it was tied and then they took the lead. It was how they went about those at-bats. It was their approach. But I'm also not going to gloss over Drew Waters there. Drew Waters needed to come through. If Drew Waters strikes out again, or he grounds over to second and he beats it out at first, okay, well, Jonathan India is up, and you're hoping he can get it to Bobby Witt Jr., but there's nobody in scoring position. So to have that single in that spot, it was huge for him. I believe he needed to see that ball go through to have that big league confidence, because he's been tearing it up in AAA. But to have a hit like that on that type of stage, it is impressive. And I'm not sure if Drew Waters will stick here longer than a few weeks, but every time he's got an opportunity, it's great to see him come through like that. And as for the bullpen, and we'll lead this into our second segment, John Schreiber wasn't great. Daniel Lynch comes in, and he continues to add to that scoreless inning streak. He walks the first guy he faces on 4 pitches, and then he just goes right back to work. He's dotting the corner. That changeup was very effective today. Got an ugly swing and miss from Carlos Correa, and that's when you could tell that he's on. And this has been such a great revival for the Royals bullpen. To take someone like Daniel Lynch, who was a compensatory pick in the first round, and to turn him into this Swiss Army knife in the bullpen, it's incredibly valuable. And then you're getting this out of Chris Bubich, right? And Brady Singer, you flip for Jonathan India. I'm looking back pretty positively now on that 2018 draft class, and more so what they've done in the last 2 years. Very impressive stuff. You turn it over to Ursig in the 8th. 2 days rest, exactly what he needed, and just throw a 98-99 on the fist. You're not going to get anything in a spot like that. And even he fell behind 3-1. I want to say it was to Jose Miranda. He got Ty France out finally. Someone got Ty France out. He homered again today to put his average to 975 against the Royals in his career. But he faces him in that spot, and he gets Ty France to pop out. And then he gets a 3-2 pitch on the hands of, I believe it was Jose Miranda. If I'm wrong on that, I do apologize. But just rolls it over to Bobby Witt Jr. So efficient, 1-2-3 in the 8th. And then Carlos Estevez, who we'll talk about here in the second segment, still trying to work back. The positive, though, is he's getting results. He's 3rd in saves in all of baseball. He's blown only 1 save, and it was because of that damn ghost runner rule where it's an unearned run that scores, but still it counts as a blown save. It's not pretty, but I can tell you why there's no need to panic when you're looking at Carlos Estevez in a moment like today. We'll dive into that next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. Want to give a shout out to one of the sponsors today in Just Ingredients. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters, and that's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with 2-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. Again, that's justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow at just.ingredients on Instagram. So get started today with Just Ingredients. Going back to that 9th inning, it was not pretty for Carlos Estevez. And I'm sure for a lot of fans out there, you're thinking back to his previous outing, which was in Game 1 against Minnesota. He allows an earned run to score. It was a little bit shaky. The command wasn't there. The velo still wasn't there. And you're wondering, man, when is he going to turn into the guy we paid for? Or I guess the Royals paid for. When can we have that feeling of when he takes the ball or when the Royals have a lead in the 7th, 8th, and 9th, nobody's going to have an off night. And we know in baseball, it still happens. Guys are not going to be perfect every time they take the bump. I mean, as great as Lucas Ursig looks right now, there will be an outing this year where he coughs up the lead. There's 162 of these things. And if he's going to pitch in almost every single high leverage spot when he's rested, one of those times he is going to be, tagged a little bit. Doesn't mean he's a bad pitcher. It just means that in baseball that happens. With Carlos Estevez, when looking at the HEE combination at the back end of the bullpen, he has been the one that has struggled the most. And it doesn't surprise me too much because he didn't have the full spring training. I mean, he was somebody that you wanted to have the full spring training because you want to build up an arm like that where it's 97, 98, 99, very comparable to what he did last year when he was pitching for the Angels and the Philadelphia Phillies. That still can, get back into his arsenal, though. That type of velocity can still make its way back to his four-seam fastball. We're watching 93 to 95, which can give you cause of concern. But we can also acknowledge it's April 10th, and he did not have a full spring training. He didn't pitch until the final 2 weeks of spring training. And he never seemed worried about the lack of velocity. And even today, once he needed to get, some big time pitches in there, when he needed to blow it by somebody, he got up to 95. And we've seen him touch 97 in a couple of his outings this year. It's just not that consistent 97, 98, 99, which I know he can get up to. He is very reliant, it seems, on that slider, but it is a good slider. And it can pair nicely with the changeup, which still has good velo. It's only that fastball that's not ramped up just yet. But I will continue to go back to something I said when this first popped up. When the Royals are concerned, or when he is concerned, that's when I will become concerned. If he's saying, I feel fine and I know I'm going to get there, then I've got no other reason to doubt him. This is the first year that Carlos Estevez has been in Kansas City. I've got no reason to believe he's lying and he's pitching through pain, because they're still running them out there. And the Royals training staff and the pitching coaches and the coaches in general, they keep an eye on that. They're going to know if somebody is fighting command, they're dealing with pain. That is so easy to figure out when somebody's velocity dips. Like, if you've got the data right there, you're throwing 92 to 93, you feel any pain anywhere? If they say, no, I don't, I'm just building my arm back up, then they're going to continue to run him back out there. And I've got no doubt in my mind he's going to get the velo back up. And maybe it's when the weather starts to really warm up. When you get to those 85 to 90 degree days, they're going to Cleveland, and they're going to New York, then they're going to Detroit. It's going to be some cold weather games here on the horizon. These next 10 games, probably a lot of cold weather games. So maybe that's not going to be when the velocity builds back up. The only thing that matters right now, while he's doing that, is the results. And so far, the results have been good. Yes, he's had his moments, even like today, where he gives up the single, and then the first pitch to Harrison Bader, he hits him up and in. I mean, you were probably feeling anxious, going, man, are we really going to blow this game now? We paid this guy to be the closer, and still he's not entering the game like Lucas Ursig does, where you're not even worried about it. He's going to go 1, 2, 3 no matter what. And the way now we feel about Hunter Harvey, he's going to go 1, 2, 3. What should make you feel excited is that once he gets back to that level, I mean, the fact he's getting results and he's not throwing his best stuff just yet, that enough is going to be giving me that excitement. That alone is going to be giving me the excitement I need to get through this, build-up period, we'll call it, for Carlos Estevez. Once he gets there, I will have the same amount of confidence in him taking the ball in the 9th that I do with Lucas Ursig in the 8th. Like, that type of confidence I don't have with anybody else in the Royals pitching department other than Cole Ragans. When Cole Ragans takes the ball, I know you're going to be in for a good start. When Lucas Ursig takes the ball, I know the lead's going to stay intact or this game's going to be tied. With Estevez, I'm not there just yet, but the results are showing up. He's got 4 saves. He is now pitched, I want to say, in 2 of those where it was a 1-run game. It was his first save of the year. It was against Cleveland. It was a 4-3 game. He gets it done. And then today, against Minnesota, 3-2 game. You're facing some good hitters. You're facing Matt Wallner with 2 on and 1 out, and you strike him out. The Royals had a little bit of a talk after he hit Bader. He was confident. He's got that veteran presence, and he attacked him. And I don't know if Matt Wallner was a little bit uncomfortable in the box seeing Harrison Bader get hit near the head, because he let 2 pitches right down the middle just go by. He clearly was not on the same page as Carlos Estevez, which you're usually not when you're talking about a pitcher and a hitter. But some guys, like Ty France, were clearly on the same page as the pitcher, knowing what was going to be coming. And he just terrorized the Royals all weekend long, or all week long, I should say. And he's done that his entire career. But Matt Wallner, if he was sitting fastball, Estevez was throwing a slider. If he was sitting slider, Estevez was throwing a fastball. He didn't look comfortable at all in that at bat. And then it goes over to Castro. Castro just puts a weak swing on the ball, rolls it over to Garcia. Estevez gets the save. The Royals get the win and a series win. now back over 500, though I'll go back to saying this. We don't need to be talking about games over 500 or being sub 500 13 games in. We can worry about that a few months into the season to truly evaluate where this team is at. Maybe not a few months in, maybe a month and a half in before we can start saying, hey, they're 5 to 10 games over 500, feel good about where they're at. If they lose tomorrow, I'm not going to say, well, they just can't get, a few games over 500. We're still very early on in the season, as you know. But to be 7-6, which we'll talk about this in the final segment, to be 7-6, the offense performing the way they have, and still having some uncertainty in the bullpen, though it's been very good. You're 7-6. You're over 500, and you've played all teams so far that had a winning record last year. And that's not going to stop over the next 10 games. I mean, if you think about it, because I want to say they have Colorado right after the Detroit series, their first 23 games of the season will be against teams that had a winning record. I mean, that's a tough April. And if they can go even 5-5 on this road trip, you come back and you're 12-11 against Colorado, I'm not going to complain too much about it. It's all about surviving April, which many years in Royals baseball, they have been buried in April. Last year, they found a way to overcome a tougher start to the season, and more so the opponent. Not saying they had a tough start. They had a tough schedule to start the season. They did get the White Sox, though, twice in the month of April. The Royals are not getting any gimmies other than the Rockies, it feels like, in the month of April. Then it dies down and gets a little bit quieter as the season rolls on. Okay, let's take our final break of the show. When we come back, let's look ahead to this series against the Cleveland Guardians. That's coming up on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. Our last sponsor we want to tell you about is FanDuel, and with FanDuel, the NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bet if that bet wins. Don't miss out and head to FanDuel.com. Again, that's FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. I actually lost my bet the other night. I was feeling good about Luka Doncic returning to Dallas. My bet hit with Luka, but then my pick with Paolo Banchero didn't work out. I had a nice parlay designed for me to win about $50 more than I was putting down. Felt pretty safe on it. It just didn't work out, but it's still fun to throw together those parlays. And NBA is hot right now. The playoffs are right around the corner, as I said. So get started today over at FanDuel. Make a couple parlay picks. Maybe just pick a winner of a game and start there, but definitely do so over at FanDuel. The next team on the docket for the Royals, as you will see on the helmet in tomorrow's episode, will be the Cleveland Guardians, who we've already seen on that little mantle behind me if you watch on YouTube. So the Royals will take on the Guardians for 3, then they will take on the New York Yankees, and then they will face off with the Detroit Tigers for this 10-game road trip. Right now, I mean, you've got two teams that are actually, I was about to say two teams that are leading their division because Detroit is in first place in the Central at 7-5. The Royals are a half game back. Cleveland, after sweeping the White Sox, who are already now down to 2-10. I know that you don't feel any sympathy for White Sox fans because Royals and White Sox fans don't like each other. But if you have a friend that is a White Sox fan, man, to already have an 8-game losing streak a few weeks into the season, I mean, they're going to be better than they were last year just because it's nearly impossible to be as bad as they were. But Cleveland just got to beat up on them for a 3-game series. It was so crushing to see them lose the way they did last night. Mike Tauchman having a hamstring injury, coming home to tie the game, and then just pulling up about halfway through down the line. That you have to shake your head at, whether you are a White Sox fan or not. But Cleveland, I mean, they're now back to 6-6. They were 3-6 before that series. And there were some close games against the White Sox. Not today's game. The Guardians were able to pull away and win that one comfortably. But there were some close games. As I just said last night, the tying run gets cut down to the plate. There also was a 1-run game where the White Sox had a walk-off walk, or the Guardians had a walk-off walk against Mike Clevenger, the former Cleveland Guardian there. But there were some close games in this 3-game set. but Cleveland won all of them. So now they're 6-6, back to 500, a half game back of Kansas City. So we'll see just how different Cleveland looks from a few weeks ago when they were in Kansas City on opening day. So the Guardians at 500, they will send Tanner Bybee at the Royals tomorrow. First pitch will be at 5:10 p.m. Chris Bubich, who, if you didn't know this, that play on Sunday where Hunter Renfroe couldn't track it down in right field and it turned into a triple and then eventually came down to score on a wild pitch. Both of those were changed in the box score. Now it's a 3-base error, and it was a pass ball on Freddie Fermin. So Chris Bubich's ERA is back to 0.00, and he's 2-0 in his first 2 starts. Whereas Tanner Bybee, after having his first start against the Royals, which was on Sunday of that first series of the year, he did get roughed up a little bit in his start against the Angels. He gave up 7 earned over 4 innings, 8 hits there, struck out 4 and walked only 1. But he enters with a 1-1 record, a 6.52 ERA. So that'll be Friday, first pitch at 5:10 p.m. Central Time. Saturday, another night game. It'll be 5:10. Michael Lorenzen, coming off his quality start back on Tuesday, he will take the ball in this game, going up against Luis Ortiz, who the Guardians acquired over the offseason. It has been a rough go for him in his first starts. He's 0-2 with an 8.44 ERA, thrown just 10 2/3 innings, though the really bad number was what he did on March 31st against the Padres, went only 4 2/3, gave up 7 earned on 9 hits. He walked 4 and struck out only 2. But then against the Angels, he did get a quality start in this one. 6 innings, only 3 runs on 7 hits. Didn't walk anybody, but struck out only 3. He's somebody that is more of a project for the Guardians, but as we've seen so many times in their existence, they are a pitching factory. And the same way the Rays are, and the same way the Dodgers are, where no matter who they get, no matter what their previous history was, they're going to turn into a good starter for Cleveland. But that'll be the Saturday matchup, Lorenzen versus Ortiz. And then on Sunday, the Royals will see Ben Lively again, and it'll be Cole Reagan. So a rematch of opening day, though we all know that Tanner Bybee was the scheduled starter in that game. And then because of food poisoning from Chipotle, I want to say it was, Ben Lively had to make the start on the fly. So Sunday, that'll be a 12:40 first pitch to wrap up that series there. And then the Royals will head off to the Bronx, a rematch of the American League Divisional Series from a year ago. And they will take on the Yankees Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And on Thursday, they'll begin a 4-game series against the Detroit Tigers before returning back home that week of April 21st. They'll have an off day, so it's 10 straight games here, no break, and it'll be the Colorado Rockies in town on April 22nd. So that's the 10-game road trip there, all against teams right now that are 500 or better. Yankees have been scuffling a little bit. Detroit got the best of them in a 3-game series. They took the first 2 and then lost the series finale, though did make it interesting in that 9th inning. I believe the Yankees were up 4-0 on Detroit, and then the Tigers stormed back for 3 and nearly pulled off a stunning comeback to sweep the Yankees. But they'll see both those teams next week. But first and foremost, you got to try to get some revenge taking on the Guardians. I'm not sure if the Royals will be rolling into town, still having that bad blood about Jonathan India getting hit on the head, or in the head, I should say, by Emmanuel Clase. It's not worth getting anybody suspended. It's just something I'm going to keep my eye on. If the Royals are going to try to retaliate, my gut tells me no, just because I don't see anybody in this rotation, not Bubich, not Lorenzen, not Reagans, to risk getting suspended. And somebody in the bullpen could happen. I don't know, though. I just feel that if there was to be retaliation, it would have been in that series. Unfortunately for the Royals, they didn't get that opportunity because that was in the bottom of the 9th of the last game of the series. So we'll see. Again, a first pitch, 5:10 p.m. Central Time tomorrow night. It'll be Chris Bubich going up against Tanner Bybee. Well, that'll do it for another edition of Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I've been your host, Jack Johnson. Thank you for making Locked On Royals your first listen today. For your second, check out all new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale and find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Tomorrow, it'll be a Mailbag Friday, but until then, you take it easy, Kansas City.